Okay guys, finally this snake has shed. It's taken a week. He's been holding up the second part of this video. Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. The snake that I was waiting on to shed so I could finish part 2 of what do they look like now has finally shed, and I've put together the rest of the video. This one features the 2 Firefly enchi clowns, which I think you're going to enjoy, so let's take a look. This guy here, when he was a hatchling, I thought at first this was just a straight clown, but you can see from the brightness and contrast and also this characteristic donut on the dorsal that this is actually what I believe to be a fire clown. I have a female who's a little bit brighter. This female is more typical of what I would expect from a fire clown, but you can see from the head stamps that they are extremely similar. This is a fire head stamp on this guy. This is how fire usually expresses, a little bit brighter, but you can see when compared to a normal clown that this guy now has developed a lot more brightness, and you can see from the head stamp that there is quite a significant difference in the head stamps. This guy is still nice and high contrast, and some of the alien heads have been extended out as opposed to the more regular alien heads on this guy here. So I now think that this is actually a fire clown. You can see and compare the brightness and the contrast, and this guy is much higher contrast, much brighter than the straight clown counterpart. You can also see from the belly of this guy that he is not a regular clown. So this is now fire clown. You can see he has improved with age, and this is what he looks like now. And this guy here is a vanilla clown. You can see much more reduced pattern, again a different head stamp, nice and bright. Let's just get a look at the head stamp. You can see the more reduced pattern on this guy, and also the extended alien heads that he has on the rear. So this is not fire. We believe this is vanilla and slightly more reduced than the fire clown that we've just seen. This guy here is a pastel clown from the clutch that you saw at the beginning of this clip. This is just to show you what he looks like now. Still extremely bright, starting to lose some of the higher contrast from the dorsal, but very, very bright yellows for a straight pastel clown. Let's have a look at the head stamp on this guy. You can see the head stamp there, that's classic pastel clown. This is the male, just for comparison. That's his sister. Slightly paler coloured, not as intense yellow as the male, but both holding their colour very well. That's what they look like now. This girl here is the largest of the 2 pastel vanilla clowns that I produced, both females. The other one is in shed. Let me just compare them. This female is actually slightly smaller but has the nicer pattern of the 2. She's looking a bit grubby. She's in shed, but she will look very spectacular when she's shed out. A little bit brighter than the one underneath, if that is actually possible. So both of these girls are staying remarkably bright, very, very shy. But you can see what vanilla does to the alien heads and also the keyholes. Vanilla makes the keyholes very elongated along the flank, so we get this very busy pattern, and we get some melting of the alien heads as we see here. But the characteristic of vanilla is not only the brightness, but these keyholes that have been extended out in a horizontal direction. You can see the head stamp. The head stamp here, Pastel Vanilla, is very blushed, almost like a killer clown. Super Pastel head stamp. So that is Pastel Vanilla Clown. This guy here is my Firefly enchi clown. He's just shed, so I'm taking the opportunity to shoot some video. You will have seen this guy before. He's everybody's favourite on Instagram. Let's take a look at his brother, because his brother's just shed as well. And you can see the similarity in the head stamps, but a slight difference in colour. Brother is a little bit lighter yellow colour and a much more reduced pattern. I say much more reduced, it's not really much more reduced, slightly more reduced. These guys were hatched in November of last year, so they are 6-7 months old now. Probably around 500 or 600 grams. They're both males, and they're both absolutely stunning. When I open the tubs on these guys, I can't actually believe I made these. These are just superb. So we've got Firefly enchi and possibly just Pastel enchi, but maybe also Firefly enchi. Can't really tell on this reduced one whether he's all three. The busier pattern one definitely Firefly enchi. So there they are, both together, having both shed and both looking absolutely awesome. This girl here is Pastel Leopard. She was hatched out in April last year. Didn't start out eating very well, but is rapidly now catching up. So this girl is over a year old now, and quite slow growing, but still very bright. She is a little bit nippy, so let me see if I can handle this, because I want to show you the really bright side pattern that she has. This is going to be an awesome addition to the breeding pool as she grows up. I don't have a straight leopard in my collection, and there's so much that you can do with leopard. I just had to keep this girl back. So this is Pastel Leopard. This is Lavender, one of the visual lavenders that I produced. Now this girl is about 6 months old now. You can see from the head stamp that she's not pastel. Still very bright oranges along the dorsal. So this is a straight visual lavender albino, and she is beautiful. This guy here is my lesser super enchi male, and you can see the very characteristic enchi head stamp. Let's see if we can show you the head stamp there. So this is a double dose of enchi, and we get the anvil shape, and we get a very reduced enchi pattern along the dorsal. So this is 2 doses of enchi, and it has lesser in it. So it is maintaining quite a nice yellow colour at the base, but is browning out a little bit along the dorsal. So All the offspring from this guy will be passed on one copy of Enchi because he's a super, and this is what he looks like now. You can see the influence of lesser along the flanks here, where there's a little bit of whiteness. And of course everybody will remember this girl. She was born with slight kinking. This is my 8-ball. It's a cinnamon black pastel, and she is thriving. Awesome coloration. She's a little bit nippy, a little bit shy and defensive. You can see that she still does cock her head, but she has no problem eating, striking, coiling and feeding herself, and she actually moves reasonably well. There you go, you can see that she stretches out, and that original small amount of kinking has actually improved tremendously, and she moves very, very well. So this girl is thriving. You can see there her neck, you can hardly notice it when she moves. The kinking is not a disability. This girl is awesome. Just look at that dark coloration and the light coloured belly. So this is my 8-ball girl, and yes, she's thriving. Goodness, this is a big girl now. This is my Super Pastel Spot Nose Vanilla Yellow Belly Het for Clown female, and she's looking very, very chunky. She is actually being paired. I'm trying to get a clutch from her this year. She is approaching 2 years old, so still a little bit young, but she's approaching 2 kilos as well. She's been a phenomenal eater, so we are pairing her just to see if she gives us a clutch of eggs this year. That would be really cool because she is Spot Nose and Het for Clown, and everything else that's in the mix should just be awesome in our offspring. So this is Super Pastel Spot Nose Vanilla Yellow Belly. Just look at that awesome flaming up the sides from the yellow belly. So we'll put this girl away. Okay guys, finally this snake has shed. It's taken a week. He's been holding up the second part of this video. But this is my Pastel Spot Nose Yellow Belly Het for Clown male, and you can see in the little sidebar what he looked like when he was young. Everybody knows what pastel looks like. It's the brightening gene that gives the animal also a washed out head stamp. When you look at the babies all side by side, it actually becomes very easy to see which are the much more busier patterned spot noses. And you can see in this guy here also the typical spot nose templates that we look for in spot nose. Unfortunately for us, pastel washes out the head stamp. This girl here is the Super Pastel Spot Nose, and you can see from the group shot right at the start that the 3 spot noses in this clutch were actually fairly easy to pick out. Very, very busy pattern. Spot nose is quite characteristic when you see it in the clutch. The ones with spot nose and the ones without are fairly easy to pick out, but pastel, and particularly Super Pastel, do some weird things to the pattern. You can see that we get some crazy alien heads, which are a combination of both the spot nose and the pastel influence. But towards the tail end of the snake, you can see down here that spot nose actually starts to break up and gives these characteristic bell shapes along the base of the tail here. You can see that on both sides. Some of these extensions along the dorsal here, and another characteristic of spot nose are some of the hook shapes that you can see where the yellow alien heads actually extend up into the dorsal and hook around. That's also another characteristic of spot nose. You can also see at the front end of the snake a more blocky pattern. That's also typical spot nose. And in this particular case, you can also see from the head stamp, you can actually make out a typical spot nose head stamp. It is actually very washed out, but there is a spot on the nose. There's also a boxy hoof shaped head stamp. Again, very washed out. There's no dot in the middle as would be normal with spot nose, but the dash behind the neck, can you see that little extension here behind the neck, is also another characteristic of spot nose. So this girl is nowhere near as big as the one that we've just seen, the Super Pastel Spot Nose Vanilla Yellow Belly girl. She's nowhere near as big as that. Not such a good eater initially, but she's eating now. She will be ready to breed next season, so I'm not too worried. So this is my Super Pastel Spot Nose Hetfer Clown female. And you can see what spot nose does to the pattern. I can't wait to get the clown version of this. Leopard Spinnerblast, and you can see how this guy is coloured up. When he first hatched he was very, very pale, but he's now quite yellow. You can see how the colour has come in quite strongly. The pattern is still exactly the same, and if we can get a look at the head, you'll see that the head is still quite washed out, as Spinnerblasts are. So this is Leopard Spinnerblast, and we've seen enough of these combinations with my recent hatchlings as well, with leopard with pinstripe, to see the influence of leopard on pinstripe combinations. So this is Leopard Spinnerblast. This is what he looks like now. This awesome girl here is my Bumblebee. Just a straight 2-gene animal, Spider and Pastel, but glorious colour. She has gone really, really bright yellow. You can see the sides have whitened out. You see the head stamp there. Just an awesome snake for such a simple combo. It is a female. I do like Spider. This girl has no discernible wobble, and I can't wait to put Orange Dream and Yellow Belly into this combination and see if we can improve it further. Awesome snake. So this is Bumblebee. Okay guys, some awesome snakes there. I know you guys like the comparisons that I do when we try to identify genes in snakes, and I compare all the different snakes so that you can see what each gene does. And I decided that I would extend this What Do They Look Like Now episode using the Pastel Spot Nose Yellow Belly Hetfer Clown male in order to illustrate. Normally when I'm identifying genes in hatchlings, we start with the parents and allow the parents and what the parents look like to tell us what's in the babies. But the Pastel Spot Nose Yellow Belly is actually quite a hard combination to ID. It's one of those snakes where when somebody tells you what it is, you kind of go, well, yeah, okay, if you say so, but I can't really tell. So we're going to take a different approach with that snake, and we're going to allow the hatchlings that have been produced from the father of that snake and what the hatchlings look like to tell us how to identify the genes within that Pastel Spot Nose Yellow Belly Hetfer Clown male. I think you'll find it interesting. That's the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.